So I want to start with the way that I started all the other panels. And if you could briefly tell us a bit about how you kind of entered the hip hop industry.
Oh man. Via blog. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's how it was. It was via my blog that I started in 2008, right after I graduated high school. My friend had one, and I was just asking him what he was doing one day, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Blogging," and I'm like, "Blogging?
What is that?"
And then he told me all about it and introduced me to a few, such as like Nah Right and DC to BC, and so I was going on them all on my own, and I was always telling friends, "Oh, you should check out this website," and everyone was like, "I'm not going to remember that. Why don't you make your own website?" So yeah, I just made my own website, and but I've always been a fan of hip hop since I was really young.
Yeah.
Like probably 6th grade to be specifically, because 5th grade it was still like Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 6th grade, and so I've always loved it, and never did I think I was going to be where I am now, because I went to school for graphic design. But yeah, it was via my blog, and it kind of just really took off with the start of social media, like in 2009 specifically. It started to really take off, and then it's just been a lot. Like the story is very like broad,
right?
It's like has spiraled into a lot of things, a lot of self-taught situations. So yeah, but blogging, specifically Blogspot.
Yeah. I know. I know you, after high school, correct me if I'm wrong, you started putting on events in Miami.
Yeah.
And you were still underage when you were putting on shows at venues.
I was lying.
So was that before or after the blogging?
That was after. My first opportunity I got to do a show was in February 2010. I remember it because it's like was pretty fucking crazy. I'm like, excuse me.
What was it?
I'm like, sorry. My first opportunity, I was on Twitter, and this was like back then there wasn't that many people on it, so like everyone was really, really connecting, and even the people that I was connecting with, I was meeting these people in real life. I've never people are always like, well, aren't you scared of that? And I'm like, well, no, like I feel like I can tell if somebody's weird or not.
Right.
So it was a friend of mine who's a very good friend of mine till this day, Gavin, that I was following. He had a cool clothing line. He had posted that he was coming to Miami for Super Bowls when the Super Bowl was in Miami. I just remember that the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, were playing versus somebody. And then this other guy that I had followed on Twitter who had a store in New Orleans, he followed me as well and just DM'd me one day like, hey, the Super Bowl's in Miami. We're all coming from New Orleans. I want to do a show with Currency and Jay Electronica. And I was like, what? And he's just like, can you help me? And I was like, yeah, sure, totally. Can do everything. Had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, totally. I'll get it done. Yeah. So I reached out to all these people that I knew. I found, we did in a gallery. I found somebody to come build a stage, somebody to come bring in the sound. I still even have the sheet of paper that I was writing down options with a Crayola marker. I don't know why. On printer paper. And I'm writing down like all these stage places, all these sound places. And yeah, and I put it together in a week, and then we had a week to sell tickets. And
that's crazy.
It ended up being Currency's first show in Florida, and like people drove down from like Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Orlando, Tampa. All these people were like, oh my gosh, I never thought that I'd see Currency in Florida. And then the guy that I said at first, Gavin, had the cool clothing line. He was originally coming to Miami to be in some convention, and he was coming with Dom Kennedy. And I was like, hey, I got this show. Like, do you think Dom would like want to be on it? It's Currency, because like Jay Electronica, just if anybody knows him as an artist, it was just like, nope, it was a dub, it wasn't happening, it was just Currency. And I was like, I need somebody else. So yeah, then Dom Kennedy opened up for free, and then it just became this whole thing. It was like 250 people, and it was put together in a week.
Crazy.
And then just because of that, I was like, I really like this. I want to do it again. And then I did my own show, and I opened my own company in September 2010. And then I brought Dom Kennedy back, and it was with him, Pac Div, and some other LA artists. Because I was like, I know I'm not the only person listening to these artists. And then, they had all these fans in Miami, and all these people were like, wow, I never thought that I'd see Pac Div or Dom Kennedy in Miami. So, and then it just spiraled from there to Big Sean, to Joe Budden, the Cool Kids, Kendrick, and I know I'm forgetting somebody else.
Yeah. And was it at the same time that, like, because I know your blog was kind of the same thing too, where you were blogging a lot of artists that were up and coming.
Yeah.
And Miami, you were putting on these shows with artists that were up and coming, and there were also not many, as we were talking about right now, not many platforms.
No.
In Miami at all.
Yeah, because I was traveling a lot too. Like, I was just following all these things on social media. So I was like, I want to see these scenes for myself. So I went to LA, I went to New York, and I'm like, there's all these scenes here. There's all these, there's all these groups of people who love like this, like at that time, I guess you would say like internet rap. Like, there's no way that I'm the only person in South Florida listening to that. Because, like South Florida, it's like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. So I'm like, there's no way. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna take a chance. And and I wasn't the only one. It was all these kids like were also listening to it as well. And that's definitely what helped me build my following there, because a lot of the promoters, like growing up in Miami, it's just South Beach, and the artists are coming there to do a club performance, which is like 2 songs, and then plus that's not for like the younger kids, that's 21 and up, or unless it's like a big artist and they're at an arena like a Jay-Z or something. But like for these artists like Currency and Wiz Khalifa and Big Sean and Kendrick and all these people, I'm like, none of these promoters were doing that. And we weren't getting those shows. So definitely that was like me like building the blueprint to let people know that it's okay to bring stuff there. And then I didn't want to do it on my own anymore. So then like I would help like Tarek, who is the owner of Rolling Loud Festival, bring stuff there. Because when I booked Big Sean, I by accident overslept and I made Big Sean miss his flight. So I had to drive him to Orlando to meet him, meet Tarek halfway, because Tarek had him in like Jacksonville or somewhere. And then we became cool from there. And then it was just kind of letting them know, like, you guys can do stuff in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and stuff. There's kids who want to see these artists. Were
you doing this full time at that point? Event production and blogging?
Yep.
Okay. And what setbacks or pushbacks were you experiencing at that time as a woman, as someone who was very young?
Well, there was specifically, I forget till this day, and I'm like, well, now it's because I don't care anymore. But then there was like this one guy on Twitter who used to just come for my life. Like, and I was like, he doesn't even know, like, I don't know. I could never really understand it. I'm a people person. I've been friends with all different kinds of people. Even in high school, I was like, I was cool with everybody. It was like, the preppy kids, like the cool kids, the people that, people are like, oh, like the band geeks, like I'm cool with everybody. So when this person is coming after me and I don't know, like saying like really hurtful things, it was very discouraging at times, because I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to be in front of a camera, just because anytime you're in front of a camera or when you have a platform, there's always going to be somebody, and I still don't even get it to this day, how people are like, oh, I don't like that person. Like, how can you say you don't like a person? You don't know them at all. So those were things that was discouraging, because I wasn't used to that. Like, I never knew what that felt like. So it was hard for me to learn how to ignore it. I do now, but it was very hard for me to ignore things like that. Or even like, YouTube trolls. I read those comments like,
I'm not going to read them anymore.
Well, nope. I'm not going to read it anymore, but then I'm reading another one. And then I'm like, I'm not going to read anymore. I'm looking back and reading another one. So, that was really tough.
What about when it came to booking venues or artists? Were they ever like, oh, she's young, she might not know what she's like on the business aspect?
I think what happened was, I was cool with them, and it was a lot of they just believed in me, and I was, I was like, here's my plan. This is what I want to do. Like, you guys have a following here. I want to do the show. I have the money. It's like, if you have the money, it's like, then it's like, okay, cool, let's do it. Like, it was done. It was me and my best friend who did it, who like started to do the events, and we got her aunt and my dad to like invest in us, and then we would like pay them back with interest, because that's what they like made it to. You're gonna have to pay us back with interest. We're like, all right,
yeah.
But yeah, like I think it was all because of the plan that we had set, and then just because of my relationship. Like, even the one with Big Sean, like, we were friends, and then he had never just done a show there, and I was like, hey, I want to book you here, and I booked him through his mom.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. Like, now for like $5,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's not $5,000 now.
Yeah. Let's talk about the time that you met Dave Free at South by Southwest.
Oh my. Yes, I met them. Well, actually, I met Dave via email.
Okay.
I met Dave via email because I was blogging all the guys' stuff. So Kendrick, Schoolboy, Absol, everybody. And my good friend Brandon, who is based in LA, he had a blog himself called Easy Street. He still has it, but like what we were saying briefly earlier, it's like blogs in a very weird phase right now.
Yeah.
But he knew him, so I just asked him like, hey, like, when this, because I wasn't getting the emails of like, they were sending out email blasts of when the guys are dropping content. I would only see it when I would come across it. So I had asked Brandon, I was like, hey, can you like tell whoever's doing that to put me on that list? So that person was Dave. Dave was sending out the emails himself, like from his email, like DJ Dave at like Gmail. So I would always write him back like, hey, here's my post. This is what I wrote about it. So he would always like write me back and like say like, thanks for showing love and everything. So that was really him. Then he started to watch me, I guess, because then one day, I just got a phone call and they were coming to Miami for the Drake tour that Kendrick was opening for Drake. It was, Kendrick and A$AP Rocky. And they were like, hey, we're coming to Miami. I want to talk to you. We need somebody to help us with our digital. You've just always been so on it and quick. I think you can help us because I can't do it anymore. Like, the guys are getting too big.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how it like spiraled from there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, are you calling the right Ashley? He's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, Ashley Regis. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like literally hung up and I was like, did he get... That just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so that just has turned into what it is now. So,
what relationship do you have with them now? What do you?
Well, before, it used to be exclusive to them doing digital. Like I was their like director of digital media, social media, and everything. But now I just do special projects. I kind of wanted, like, I did it for so long. I just felt like people started to be, it was always like Kendrick. And while I love him, it's bro, but I'm just like, all right. Like, even it was a time where he even asked me to be his assistant, and I was like, no, I don't want to, because that would be my life. I wouldn't be able to do my own thing. I know people who are assistants and stuff, and you can't do your own thing, and it's a great opportunity. But now I do special projects with them. So it's whether if it's facilitating a brand partnership or putting together like an album release or doing a press run with a. Now it's like it's really I really like to help the artists that don't have the label backing, because like Kendrick, Schoolboy, SZA, they're good to go. They don't need that much help. But when it comes to like Isaiah or the new one Sir, or J Rock or Absol,
right,
they need the more help, because they don't have the whole like marketing of the major label. So that's where I come in.
At what point in your career did you realize, like, you were blogging, you were putting on events in Miami? At what point were you like, okay, this is getting big. Like, I'm building up my network. I'm getting all these opportunities. Where you started to just reflect on your career and the path that you were headed?
I would probably say my 23rd birthday, because that's when I decided to go to New York for a summer, and then after that summer is when I was like, I'm moving. Yeah, so my definitely my 23rd birthday. My best friend had moved to New York. And then my because there's like it's like three of us, so it's always like we're the three best friends, you know.
Yeah.
Like the movie. Yeah. Then the other one was going, who's Dimmy. I'm like, I don't think he's here yet. He's late. He was moving too. So in a way, at times I was like, am I just moving because they're moving to New York? But no, I was traveling there so much, and I was finally in front of people. You know, being in Miami, I was always on email with all these labels or a phone call. I wanted to be in people's faces. I wanted to be in the record label offices. I wanted to be at those branded events and meet the people and then bring ideas and things back to Miami. But so yeah, that summer that I went, it like literally was like a life-changing summer. But people always say that too. They're like, well, of course you loved it. There's nothing like a summer in New York. They're like, but wait till the winter, which they were not joking, because the winter I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was then, and all these, you know, these brands and even these labels started to ask me to come into their offices and, you know, work with their artists, whether it's like consulting and what ways they can be better, help with marketing campaigns. That's when I was like, all right, I gotta go, because had I stayed in Miami, I would have had to continue to like do like parties and things, and I'm just not that much. Like, I like to party, but not to the point where I'm gonna do 3 parties a week.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a lot of energy, you know?
Yeah. So moving to New York for the sake of opportunity, what are some of the pros and cons that you had to weigh in that move?
Moving to New York, I went from, in Miami, I was a big fish in a little pond, to just me and everybody else is like, you know, we're all in the same boat. It's like, you know, dog eat dog there. So it's really like, how are you different from somebody else? So, you know, I think it all came down to what personal relationships you had with people. And, you know, you can only make so many, you know, you can't be like best friends with everybody. But, you know, it was just like, I was thankful enough to like meet the right people. And, you know, they vouched for me to meet other people. And it kind of became you know, that's when I really learned about it's not what you know, it's who you know thing. That's when I really started to believe that, because like in New York, it's pretty like, it's definitely who you know thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So how have you navigated standing out in like becoming like from that transition of being the only one doing these things in your city to moving to a city where a lot of people are doing the same thing?
I think it's been just developing, you know, genuine relationships with people. And honestly, like staying the same. I've always been the same person, like even since high school. Maybe I changed my hair, because before I used to do a lot of LA Looks gel. But yeah, no, I definitely stayed the same. I don't know. I feel like, yeah. In my personal relationships with people, even like with artists, you know, it's always been like, they've always treated me like a friend. I treat them like a friend. While sometimes, you know, if I'm going to a show or like it's an event, we're with an artist, it's always funny when people are like, oh my God, about an artist, because like I've been able to just, you know, they're a normal person just like me, and I've always treated them like that, and nothing different. And because of that, a lot of them have, you know, asked me to work on a project for them. So
For sure.
I think it's just been cool, calm, and collected. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. In a digital age where things are constantly changing, and there's all these platforms arising, and especially you also, where you have, you know, your hands in a lot of things, how do you stay relevant?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, yeah, like that's a good question, because earlier I was telling her that I plan to turn my blog, or my website, I should say, into a portfolio, because, you know, my start being blogging and having a website is just not the same, in my opinion now. There's still people doing it, but I guess in a way maybe I outgrew it, I would say. And then, I mean, I feel just like what people say. You always have to keep producing content. You have to keep doing things. But I've become a person where rather than online content, I've started to find much more fulfillment in doing things like activations, experiences, and, you know, creating an idea of something. Like I did this girls' night out sleepover where I invited all these girls in the music industry, and it was during Women's History Month, and I got all these brands involved for different parts of the night. But then that was shared online. So it's like I'm getting much more fulfillment of doing things offline, but then that they're so, you know, they're interactive and they're cool that then people share it online, and then people are like, whoa, that was cool, I want to go to that, or what was that, when are you doing another one? So that's been my thing. It's been to keep creating content, but rather than what I was doing before, it's like 30 blog posts a day at one point.
Yeah.
Now it's really focusing on doing activations that are not every other day, but like one is this week, then there's maybe a few weeks in between, then there's another one, or you know, it could be a month or two, but really putting the time and effort into it so it can, like, I don't know, I just feel it's I had to grow out of the blogging thing. So it's been producing content, but on a different level now, and not my daily blog post.
Yeah. Touching base again on being a woman in the industry, especially hip hop, have you found being a woman doing business in hip hop, have you found yourself ever having to kind of mold or reshape your persona or demeanor to
For sure.
How so?
I'm like, for sure. Well, most of the time, I usually know somebody, and they're always like, you know, they give that look to everybody, like, this is my friend, she's like a sister, don't even try it. But in the times that I haven't, I just, you know, I might be little, but I kind of, I'm just like, I turn on the mode of like, no. You know, it's kind of like a straight face. And there was like a situation that I was in. I spoke on a panel with Spotify, and there was this guy from some agency. I don't even remember at this point. But he was like a VP there, and he was like, we rep all these brands. We should talk. I'm like, okay, great. Let's set a meeting. So we set a meeting, and then it's like, okay, well, actually, let's go to lunch. And I'm like, all right, let's go to lunch. It's a cool lunch. And then the lunch, like, I don't know, like, we're just, you know, of course you can't talk about business the whole time. I literally would.
Yeah.
I would die.
You gotta have some casual conversation.
So, yeah, there was a casual conversation of how much I enjoy movies. And at the end of the lunch, it's like, we should go get a movie sometime. And I'm like, what? And then, yeah, it just turned into, like, he was, like, texting me, like, to come out to the club with him and stuff. And I was even saying, like, listen, like, I would like to take a meeting with you and your team at your office. And that wasn't what he was interested in at all.
Yeah.
So now I kind of always, like, look for little, like, hints or things at first. Like, you know, I'm no more first lunch meetings. Now it's office only.
Yeah. I know that persistence and consistency is key to staying relevant, to produce, you know, continuing to, because as an entrepreneur, having business and bringing in new clients and things like that. But what else would you say is key to having your own personal brand?
I think having a personal touch to whatever it is that you're doing, like something of like, why this person is, why are they hiring you though, you know, because this and that person does that, but why are they hiring you? So I think there definitely needs to be like a key factor there that people can say why they're hiring you versus somebody else who does the exact same thing. Because, you know, everybody does marketing and event production, but why are they hiring you for it? Are you organized? Are you creative? You know, like what do you really bring to the table? So when you started in your path of entrepreneurship,
one thing that I like to ask entrepreneurs is how they started to define their price points for things. And especially for you, as you started to elevate, how you kind of adjusted that along the way.
My price point started, I feel, when I was first given a price. And then I was like, whoa, okay. So that can be it. That's really how mine started. I didn't know. That was definitely a question I was asking my mentors, what should I charge? And they were like, well, what do you think you're worth? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what kind of question is that? And so it wasn't until I was offered my a budget, and I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Like, we'll start that one off. But then now it comes down to how big is the project, how long is it going to take? And then all of what work am I, what's the full scope of work? What exactly am I doing? Because a lot of the time people say, oh yeah, we're going to give you this much, and then this is what you're going to do. And then they start asking you to do all these other things. And it's like, no, that's not on the scope of work. That's not, that's not my position. Like, there's been times where I've done, projects, and then they're asking me to do PR, and I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. Yeah, no, it's like the marketing. I work with the PR, but I'm not doing hey, I'm just reaching out. I'm just following up. No. Like, so I think it's, really knowing what you're doing.
Yeah. What would you say you've had to sacrifice other than like having to move from Miami?
My blog. That was like my passion. But it wasn't my main source of income at all. It was just, it was like I guess, is it a hobby? But I didn't have time for it anymore, in a sense. Or like, if I did, I had people helping me, of course. I had people writing, but it just wasn't fulfilling for me anymore. I guess because the blog world also started to get very saturated, and it's like everybody had a blog, and I'm like, all right, cool. I can't say like who's to have what, but literally then like everybody's like doing the same thing. So then like I started a few original content series, but then even to produce those, like it takes time, and it also takes money. Like, I wasn't on a network or anything. Like I was getting people, my friends that are videographers, to shoot it, to edit it. It's just a lot of time and money that I didn't have to put into that. I had to, do something else. But then I did find fulfillment doing that. Like I actually really like working on artist projects and being behind the scenes and watching something, from the start to finish. I love that feeling now. And I like to say that my blog was maybe like my resume. It's like what got me my foot in the door.
Right.
And while I still have it now, but it'll always be like my thing. But hopefully I can do like 1 or 2 posts a month soon. I hope that's what I want to do. Maybe like make a playlist or something. That's a thing now.
It is a thing.
Yeah, I'm like,
what would you say has been your favorite project to date? Like with a brand collaboration or with a specific artist?
To date, I would maybe say the one that I just did last week. I think it was really fun. It was a cool concept. I produced a fake wedding for Eric Elliott of the Flatbush Zombies for his instrumental album, and it really felt like a wedding. Like I got a cake, a full-on cake made. We had the guest book, we had the candy bar, we had the DJ. He's like the entertainment for these fictional characters, Bobby and Stacy. A lot of Etsy designed-esque, like in this cafe that we had, that we held it in. But that was on a really like he asked me to do that on a Saturday. The event was Thursday, so it was done like
real quick,
like very quickly. But then when it comes to big ones, I think it would be the event that I did for Gunnar Stahl and Puma, his collaboration with Puma, and his photo gallery. That was probably one of my favorite too. It was pretty large scale, big budget, and it was like 3,000 people waiting outside to get in.
That's crazy.
You would have thought he was a rapper.
Yeah,
I was like, what's going on?
Gunnar Stahl is amazing.
Yeah,
he's really dope. What was that event like? What did that consist of? Was it just a gallery?
It was a
what?
gallery for his series of portraits that are all shot on 35 millimeter film. And then it was the launch of his collaboration with Puma, which was a line of hats. And they were all pink, and the proceeds went to breast cancer awareness. He lost his mom to breast cancer, so that was why it was really fulfilling too. Yeah, that's what it was for.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool pictures, like a lot of pictures of artists that he's only been able to grab because they let him take photos of them like that.
Yeah. What does that process look like for you when a brand reaches out to you or an artist reaches out to you? What are those next steps that you take on?
It's always like, when it comes to producing, it's like finding the venue, who's gonna, for instance, it was like finding the guy that was gonna put up all those photos because they all needed to be perfectly in line. Where we're gonna rent furniture from. Then it was also who's gonna be our liquor sponsor. Now we have to bring in another liquor sponsor, so because there's fees with getting, the SLA permit, and then who's gonna be our talent. But that was it was going to be Metro Boom, and it was, but it was so crazy outside, he couldn't even get inside. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, the venue was pretty. They were very upset. They were worried. They didn't know it was going to be that many people, and I'm like, me neither. So yeah, it comes with all that. Yeah, like producing, and then even guest list. How are we going to do the guest list? Who's going to run the door? Who's going to do it? Because we need somebody up there that's going to know who's who. Because there's his VIPs that have to get in, and then the fans who all these kids that are waiting. So
yeah. What about deciding like? Do they typically come to you and they tell you like, oh, we are currently working with this brand, do something for both of us? Or are there times where, which I'm sure there are, where an artist comes to you and is like, can you find a brand to collaborate with me?
Yeah, it's definitely both. Or even at times I'll go to them like, hey, you have this coming out. Can I take on this project? This is what I want to do. Like I'll pitch myself at times too because, being an entrepreneur, like freelance, you don't know when your next check is coming. So you can't wait all the time for somebody to come to you. You also have to go out there and see what's going on, who's working on what, and pitch ideas as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always one of those three.
Yeah. How do you respond to being in a creative rut where you like don't know, you're just not feeling inspired, you can't, you're kind of just in a mental block?
I've had those many of times. Sometimes there's been times where I'm just in it and I'm kind of like there's not really much I can do until one day, I don't know, sometimes it'll be like I'm on the train and it's like it comes to me and it's like like a light bulb, or at times even like after like this, like we're going me and my friends here, we're going on an adventure to see the canyons because it's something that we've never seen. Never been to Arizona. It's the first time to Arizona.
Welcome.
So that's probably going to inspire me to come up with some type of idea. But it's not all the time that I can just be like, oh my gosh, I'm uninspired. Let me hop on a flight somewhere. Yeah. So sometimes I try to read some articles. I try to watch things on YouTube. Like I really like Complex series, The Blueprint, where they highlight different people.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was going through a little creative rut, and I just binged watched those, and that was like, that's all I needed.
It's one of my favorite series.
Yeah.
It's really good. I love how they put like some of like the key takeaways from the conversation and how they break it up into like the stages.
Yeah, it's a really good series.
Before I continue on with the conversation, I want to open up the floor to you guys. If anyone has a question that you want to ask, go ahead.
Right here. For sure. I'd be worried if I wasn't. Yes, definitely stressed out, but not all the time anymore. Lately, I'm just like, whew, I try to woo-saw. I try to meditate,
And what do you do when you get stressed out?
Self-care.
Yeah, I'm like, Sometimes I really like to just listen to music, but like just instrumentals, no words. Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, my voice is kind of gone off.
All good.
How do you? So when you said now you're big, people reaching up to you. And what were you doing? Like, what was your process of when you pitched yourself? And how did you necessarily like say, okay, this is like you see something that you really want to get into? Like, can I handle this? Because it's just you, especially when you were starting out.
Right. I'm like, it's a lot of pitch decks that I've made. It's a lot of pitch decks, which sometimes I made them so intricate that even these brands are like, it doesn't need to be this intricate, right? Like, we don't have time. Like, it's literally they're just skimming the thing. So I'm like, but I'm over here hiring graphic designers to design pitch decks that are internal. But yeah, it was just a lot of, like I had ideas and I was like, what, it doesn't hurt to just ask people to get on board with it. Like, I think the one that I really enjoyed was this girls' night that I did, because it was very, specific for women, and I wanted to do that because I had seen that my following was like 67% male, and I was like, whoa. Like, I got to do something for the ladies here. Like, we got to change it up. So that's why I did that. So when reaching out to brands like a Makeup Forever, I was a little nervous. Like, they might say no to me because, I'm not like a beauty blogger or somebody. But they were sold on this pitch deck that I pretty much, I got on the phone with them and I explained it to them like that. I was like, listen, my following is male dominated. I would like to get more women. I love Makeup Forever as a brand. Can you get with it? And they do a lot of stuff with artists too. Like, they have partnerships with like Kehlani is like an artist that they have a partnership with, and I think like Demi Lovato or something. So that's kind of why I went after them as well. So I do a lot of research on all the brands that I'm into, and I come up with ways of like, why does it make sense for me? Even when I wanted to do an event with Jameson, I found an article on NPR that said women drink more whiskey than men, and that's how I got them to sponsor it. And they didn't even know that. And I was like, it's an article on NPR. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, I can send you the link. It's NPR. Like,
Yeah. Do your research.
yep. I do a lot of Googles. Yeah. Like,
Andres?
Is there a project that came out that you didn't get to work on, like you didn't create an experience like that before, but that always comes to your mind, like, man, I would have killed that project?
it's a good question. I feel like saying this new one that's out right now, this Black Boy booty contest. Amazing marketing. Whoever thought of that?
Some requirements for that.
Yeah. That's a good question. Now I'm like trying to like go into my like Rolodex of my mind of like what campaigns. Maybe Jay-Z's 444. That was a cool rollout.
So
Or even Beyonce. Probably Beyonce's Lemonade.
so what experience would you have created around that?
Probably like a really cool secret screening of that movie. Like, I don't know, all her stuff, like, it's so secretive. I'm always like, what? When did they even shoot this stuff? But I would have loved to do something with that film. Although like that was a partnership with HBO, but I probably would have wanted to do something like beforehand and maybe partner with the company. I'm like the company that like, they put your cell phone in a pouch. I forget what it's called. But like take people's cell phones, like make it like a whole, but like, I don't know, some type of exclusive setting, maybe really cool couches and like pillows and stuff. I'm like, this is like all the things that I would draw up. But yeah, definitely something with Beyonce's Lemonade, as in a movie screening, because I do love movies. I grew up going to the movies every Sunday. So movies is like my thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Question in the back?
Yes, I mean, this might be kind of off the wall, but I'm a first-time father with a little girl. So just
whiskey, craft beer, that type of stuff. What do you do as a parent to support a little girl to get into these type of things, to be able to lead and to express herself in a male-dominated field?
That's a good question. My dad always he didn't mind that I listened to rap until one day I was specifically playing Juvenile Project B-Word, and he was like, "Ma'am," and I was like, "It's a good song though," but he definitely threw my CD out the window, and then I was like, "It's all good. I'll just make another one on LimeWire later." But I think. I think there's an age to where kids shouldn't be listening to specific music, but other than that, at the end of the day, it is just music. But I think it also comes from how you're raised. There's never music that I listen to really hardcore rap that makes me want to go and shoot people. It's just it's a good song though, but I've never been influenced to even when it's music videos and they're doing God knows what in music videos, just it's rap, it's a song. That's why I feel that maybe came from the parenting that my parents taught me. It's just music. But I think that's as simple as it is to me. I'm not a parent, so I don't know specifically, but I would just say, to let them know that it is it's just, it's an art form, in my opinion.
Do you feel like your personal upbringing at all has affected or influenced the way that you're able to navigate a male-dominated industry?
Most likely, yeah. But I'm the youngest of three, all girls. So it was only my dad in the house. But my dad is I'm really close with my dad. But also I did grow up with a lot of male friends that were like brothers to me. So, and I've always been the youngest one in my group of friends. So that's definitely helped me. I matured faster in that way. But I did, and still until now, I have a lot of guy friends. I have a lot of girlfriends, and I have a lot of guy friends. I have a mix of both. It's not really dominated by one or the other, but a lot of male friends that have been like brothers to me. My best friend is a male. He's right there. I'm
hey,
yeah. So it's definitely helped me be more comfortable around it, because I've met other women in the industry that just they didn't have many men or something around, and that's how it's a little harder for them. But for me, no, it's kind of always just been cool.
Yeah, yeah. When you have you found it important to create that circle of women that are also in the same field or the same industry as you are, to kind of lift each other up and share experiences that you've had with each other to help each other kind of navigate how to go through those? Or
for sure, that's why I did that girls' night thing, because it was to a point where it's we're all at these events and then you always see each other and it's hey, we gotta get lunch soon, and you never get lunch. You never get dinner. You never get coffee. So I was let me just do this sleepover. And that was a time that a lot of us were able to connect. Obviously, I knew everyone, but some of them did not know each other. And then because of that, now they've been able to work with each other, whether if it was the girl that I brought in that was doing jewelry, if some of the girls are pulling from her for an event or a photo shoot, or the girls that were DJs are now being hired by my other friend who does marketing to do an event. So everybody was able to connect and really support one another, because that's also been a tough thing. A lot of girls get weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's we had, we're not enemies here.
Yeah.
There's less of us. We need to be more together.
Yeah, for sure. Is there another question in the audience? Yeah, go ahead.
I know you say you went from high school to entrepreneurship. I'm in a position where I'm doing what I want to do as in the actual job, but I'd like to freelance. For somebody who wants to, because right now I'm just telling myself, okay, here's the experience I can,
Right.
and then I can just jump into that when it's time.
I would just say, make sure you're ready, because it is stressful. Like I said, you never, when you're doing that, because now you have the security of, you're getting your check every 2 weeks or whatever. With that, you don't know. unless you're really going, or, you can get a client where, yeah, you put this client on a retainer for however many months, or you never know when it's coming. You got to know you could have 2 projects at one time because you need to take both, or then, like I said, you're going out there and you're pitching yourself. If you have an idea, there's nothing wrong with if you have an idea for an artist, you see that they're coming out with something, how can you help them? What can you do? What do you bring to the table? So yeah, just be ready for that, because then there's no more security.
So do you have any hobbies besides your vlog and any other
That is a good question. I'm like, do I have a hobby, Jimmy? I'm like, my hobby was, but like, what is it now? I'm like, what's my hobby? Walking, riding the subway. I do love going to shows. Yeah, that's I go to shows probably once or twice a week. To the point where even right now in my bag over there, I carry earplugs because I think I'm slightly deaf. Like sometimes I'm like, what? All the time, right? I'm always like, what? What? Because I've been way too in the front too many times. But yeah, now I wear them. People laugh at me, but I'm like, you're not going to laugh when I'm older and I can hear still. So yes, I think it would be going to shows or festivals. I really like festivals. You're welcome.
Any other question in the audience? Go ahead.
What's one project you wish you could have back, and what's the way you go about giving yourself feedback?
What's the one project I would give myself back? Whoa. I'm like, how many? I don't know. There's so many. I'm like, Dimmy, help me here. This is like phone a friend. Which one was I upset about?
I think like to Pimp a Butterfly.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
I think that was like the one that you were like, damn, I really wish.
Yeah, To Pimp a Butterfly, I wish I did more. I did like slight digital. I did digital. I'm credited for digital, but I wanted to do more. Like I wanted to do like activations, like pop-up stuff. I don't know exactly what, but I just know that I was like, I wanted to do more. But then that album was really tricky. Like it, people liked it or they hated it. That was a weird album for him. It was like Good Kid, Mad City was like, that was like my favorite. And then I didn't get to work on Damn. I would have really wanted to work on Damn. Yeah. What was the other question?
How do you go about giving yourself feedback?
How do I go about giving myself feedback? I'm very hard on myself. I'm always like, it could have been better. But lately, as of now, I just, I write down, what I did, and then what could have been done better, and then I just keep that in mind for the next event. How can I be better organized, or how could I have executed that better? I just like to take notes with the pros and cons, and then I better it on the next one. What is it?
If you were in a movie, are there any characters that you've ever watched in a show or movie that can relate to your personality?
Damn, that's a good question. Yeah, she's over here. I'm like, is she getting help? Is she getting help? Yeah. Oh, I've seen so many movies. Who? I'm about to be like Ron Burgundy because I watched that last night. I'm totally kidding. That's a good question. Oh my gosh. Which one? So many movies. That's a good question. I don't know. I've seen so many movies. I would have to really think about that one. I'm over here like thinking like, what X-Men character? I'm going to come back to you on that one right after this. I'm like...
Go ahead.
Is there any like marketing strategy that really you just don't see it as productive but it's popular?
And I don't see as productive, but it's popular.
Like, is there any marketing strategy that you really are like, that's a dumb strategy? People need to cut that one out. I don't know why people didn't participate in that strategy.
Yes, there is one. before I was really like, people still use Facebook, but yeah, they do. And Facebook's actually like number one still, which is crazy. I'm like, there is one. I'm like, I know there was one recently, and I don't know why it's like not coming to me right now. That I was like, oh boy. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart right now. Who was it? It was some rapper. I'm like, I feel like I was ranting on this recently too on Twitter, which is very random. Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna come back to them, but it's usually Facebook most of the time. Is there one that you don't like?
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm like.
I know there's so many. It's like those. I don't know. Even to like do gifts and there's certain types of memes, and then people go beyond that to like.
The memes are getting a little out of hand. Yeah, the memes. I'm like, all right, let's let Daquan do it, and let's let him do it.
The memes that they plan out spelling mistakes in a meme in order for it to seem like real, but it's really planned. It just seems out of hand.
I mean, I also don't like when like it's like a paid post and like you can totally tell that it's paid. Remember I was showing you, Kyle, the McDonald's one yesterday? Like it's like, but you did not just go get an Egg McMuffin in a McCafe. Like you're not selling it. That was a friend that we know. And I was like, she's got to make better content. It's the paid content that's pretty bad because they always give you like suggested copy and it sounds like a robot. People are like, just like that one. It was like, just got my Egg McMuffin, just got my coffee, and a hash brown. It's like, okay. Yeah, like not going to McDonald's now. Like it's the sponsored post stuff that I am actually a little over. Even when I have to do it, I'm always like, I tell the brands, I'm like, no, this sounds like a robot. Like, let me do the creative direction. Yeah, it's a lot of people sounding like robots these days, especially on like pages that it's like all their posts are sponsored. I'm like, all right, at that point, that's why they sound like a robot because they don't know what to say anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple last ones. How have you navigated your growth? Have you ever felt overwhelmed with the direction or the pace of your career?
For sure. I definitely have been overwhelmed, even living in New York because it's so busy and very loud. Coming from where I live in Florida, which is very quiet, I've definitely been overwhelmed, especially when there's a lot of things going on or like there's a lot of people. Sometimes, like people will reach out to me to do something and I've not wanted to say no because I've known the person, but I have to say no because I'm not really interested. Like, for instance, like social media stuff, I don't like to do that anymore. Like being like a social media like manager, like tweeting for somebody anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like to do that. 'Cause I don't like to do that anymore, and that became very overwhelming when that became what I was always being asked to do, and that's not what I wanted to do. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I would rather just come up with a marketing plan and produce an event. So I've been overwhelmed quite often.
Yeah.
A little too often.
Yeah. So has it just been kind of like a learning how to say no type of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely had to learn how to say no, even like to friends of mine, and just being honest, like I'm just not interested, which was hard at times because I've done projects because of it being a friend, but sometimes I feel like I'm not giving my 100% effort if I'm not that truly sold or into it.
Yeah. So on that note, and to bring the conversation kind of full circle, what advice would you give a woman getting into the music industry, especially in hip hop?
Ooh, the advice. Well, it would be to not do what I did and to not let the trolls on the internet scare you. Because although they intimidated me for a little bit, I will admit that I just didn't let it stop me. I had to keep going. But I have known of people who have stopped because of that. So I would say, yeah, don't let that stop you for whatever they say. And even if somebody, you know, there's been times where people will come into a room and shake everyone's hand but mine or something, you know, that's something, you know, just make your presence known and, you know, and really, you know, I just think be proud of the work that you've done. And, you know, there's a place to be humble and then there's a place, you know, to just, you know, be like, yes, I did that. That was my project. So,
Yeah.
but I think the most important is to just not let these things that people say online get to you, because they will.
Yeah.
Like they got to me at times, but it was thankfully I had friends and family in my corner that were like, this is somebody in their mom's basement. Like, what? And I was like, no, it's not. So yeah, just don't listen to those mean things that people are saying, and be confident. That's definitely a big thing too. Just be confident in your work, in yourself and your work.
For sure. All right. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
you.
All right.
Honored to have you. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you for coming.